Hey, what's up everyone? I hope you're doing well. This is Jack from ByProgrammers.com and welcome back to a brand new episode of Let's Code React Native. In this episode, we are going to build a very cute looking Boba Milk Tea app based on the design created by Ainsley on Wondershare Mockitt. Now, in case if you don't know, Mockitt is a very cool and easy to use platform that allows you to create mockups with ready-made widgets and templates by simply drag and drop, alright? For more info, feel free to check it out on mockitt.wondershare.com. Oh, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification for more videos like this. Alright, now with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so for this project, we'll be working on 6 different screens, including the splash screen. The first screen that we'll be working on is the home screen. And within the home screen, we'll be working on quite a few interesting components, which includes the light and dark theme, which we will do it in such a way that it can be controlled by using Redux over here, okay? Next, we have this horizontal flat list that can, animate the tab indicator over here as well. And also not to forget this curvy shape in the bottom tab navigator, which we are going to achieve it by using React Native SVG over here, okay? And after the home screen, we have the reward screen, which basically allows the user to check the current point, alright? After that, we have the locations. By clicking on any of these locations, you will be able to navigate to the order screen. Now this screen is also quite, I would say, interesting and challenging as well, because we need to present these buttons over here in a vertical manner, alright? And lastly, we have the order detailed screen, where we can customize the size of the cup, we can choose the milk that we want, and also we can customize the sweetness and ice level, alright? Okay, so just like the previous episode, instead of just starting the project from scratch, we have actually prepared a starter template so that it will be a lot easier for you guys to follow along. So head over to the starter template GitHub repo. The link is in the description below, and simply download the source code. You can use clone if you want to, and you should be able to get this. Alright, so once you open up the source code, the first thing you want to do is to open up your terminal and run npm install. After that, followed by React Native link, and then we need to cd into iOS and run pod install. You can skip this step if you're running on Android. Alright, now I'm going back to the root folder and run React Native, run iOS. Alright, so for this starter template, we have basically included the splash screen. I'm not going to talk about splash screen in this episode because we have already did it back in episode 10 if I'm mistaken. So feel free to check that out if you want to include splash screen in your project, alright? So as you can see here, this is a very basic starter template. We have bottom tab bar over here, and also we have included some simple navigation as well. For example, you can navigate to reward page, you can navigate to locations screen, you can navigate to order screen, and also you can navigate to the order detailed screen. Alright, I think that's pretty much about it. Next, I'm going to briefly go through our project structure over here. So first thing first, we have the assets folder, and inside the assets folder we have the fonts that we'll be using, which is Roboto. We have all the icons that we'll be using, and also all the images that we'll be using. The splash screen or the launch screen images is being placed in this folder over here. Once again, check out episode 10 if you would like to know how to generate these images, alright? So after the assets folder, we have the constants folder, and within the constants folder, we have constants.js, and this promo tabs over here will be used to render these 3 tabs over here, alright? Next, we have dummy.js, which basically includes all the dummy data that we'll be using later on the project, okay? We have the icons.js, The reason why we are doing this is so that it will be a lot easier when we want to reference or when we want to render these icons later on. Alright, same goes to images.js. Oh, and I have also included the SVG for curve shape over here. We are going to use this SVG to render these curve shape in the bottom tab navigator. Now, if you're curious how we got this curve shape as SVG, we literally drew it ourselves on the Photoshop and converted it to SVG. Yeah, we did it ourselves actually. Okay, and next we have the theme.js, which includes the dimensions, the colors that we'll be using, all sorts of different sizes, and also the fonts that we'll be using in the project later on. Oh, and also we have predefined the dark theme and light theme over here, which will be used to implement the light and dark theme feature over here later on. Okay. And lastly, don't forget we need to include the index.js file to basically export everything within the constants folder. Alright. And next we have the navigation folder. Once again, this is very straightforward. We basically create the bottom tab navigator over here and include 5 different tab screen with a custom tab bar icon over here. So as you can see, we have the home tab, we have rewards tab, we have add order tab, which is basically this middle button over here, and also we have favorite tab, and lastly we have the profile tab. Alright, so after the navigation folder, we have the screens folder, which is nothing more than just a basic template for each of these screens, as you can see here. So we have home, we have location, we have order detail, and also rewards screen. Nothing fancy here, it's just a normal functional component with a view and text component, that's it. Alright, so the first thing that we'll be working on is the bottom tab bar over here. So as you can see here, we have a floating button in the middle, we have a curvy shape in the middle as well, and also we have quite a bit of border radius on the side. Okay, let's see how we can do this. So open up the navigation folder, open up the tabs.js file, and the first thing I'm going to do here is to change the background color from colors.gray3 to transparent, like that. And then after that, for each of these tabs over here, I would like to customize the tab bar button as well. So I'm going to do this tab bar button, props, arrow function, and I'm going to return the a custom tab bar button component, which we are going to create shortly. Okay, and for this home tab, I'm going to pass in 2 things. The first will be the props, and followed by a container style. And for the container style, I'm going to include border top left radius. This is so that we can create the border radius effect over here. Okay, and the radius is going to be, say, sizes dot radius multiplied by 5. And now I'm going to copy this tab bar button property and paste it to the other tabs as well. So for the rewards tab, I'll include these as well, but just that I'll remove the container style. Same thing, I'll paste it for the add order tab as well. Just that for the add order tab, we need to include a prop called isFloat equals to true. This is for us to create the floating effect later on. Okay, and next we have the favorite tab, same thing, tab bar button, and lastly the profile tab over here. Okay, just that for the profile tab, since we need to create the border radius effect over here, we need to include the container style, where the border top right radius equals to sizes dot radius multiplied by 5. Alright, next we can then create the custom tab bar button component over here. Alright, so constant custom tab bar button equals to, so we have the container style over here, we have isFloat props, we need to include children as well, and also onPress, followed by the arrow function over here. And now within the custom tab bar button component, if isFloat equals to true, then we are going to return something. If it's not, we are going to return something else, right? Now if isFloat equals to true, I am going to return a container view, give it some styling, flex equals to 1, and align item equals to center. And within this container view, I'm just going to return a normal touchable opacity first. Touchable opacity, give it some styling, align item center, justify content center as well, width equals to 60, height equals to 60, border radius equals to 30, and background color equals to colors.primary. Oh, and over here we need to import a couple more components from React Native. So we need touchable opacity, we need touchable without feedback later on, and also we need view, correct. And now for the touchable opacity, the onPress equals to onPress, and within the touchable opacity we are going to render children. That's it for now. Now if the isFloat equals to false, I am going to return touchable without feedback. The onPress equals to onPress as well. And within the touchable without feedback component, we have a container view like this. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1, height equals to 60, background color equals to colors.gray, tree, yeah. And I'm going to render the container style as well, like this. So within this container view, we have children. Okay, now save it. Alright, we are almost there. Next thing we need to do is to render the curve shape over here, like this. Okay, and in order to achieve this, we need to install a library called React Native SVG. So scroll down, copy this. You can use yarn or you can use npm, it's up to you. I'm gonna use npm. So npm install React Native SVG. Next, you need to run React Native link, and lastly, you will need to cd into iOS and run pod install. Alright, now I'm going to cd back to the root folder. Don't forget we need to restart our app as well. I'm going to close this and run React Native run iOS. Alright, now we can then include the SVG over here. So we need to import SVG, and we need to import the path as well from React Native SVG. And next we'll need to grab the SVG from images.js file. I'm going to copy the SVG code from here and paste it over here. And let's see what we got. Alright, as you can see, the curvy shape has already been rendered in the bottom tab navigator. All we need to do next is to change the touchable opacity to position absolute, and I'm going to set the top to -40. Alright, we are almost there. There is still a bit of edges in this area. Let's see if we can get rid of that. So I'm gonna look for the rewards tab over here. I am going to give it a bit of styling. So container style equals to margin right 7. Let's try 6. Alright, a lot better now. I'm going to do the same for the favorite tab, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna paste it over here. Instead of margin right, I'm gonna change it to margin left. Alright, so we have the tab bar in place. All we need to do now is to make sure this area is being filled as well. And to do that, we need to add a custom tab bar. So come over here within the tab.navigator, we will include another prop called tab bar. We have the props, arrow function, and I am going to return the custom tab bar over here. pass over the props as well, like this. And we are going to create the custom tab bar component right on top. Okay, so constant custom tab bar, props, arrow function, and we are going to return a container view. And within this container view, we will have another view which will basically fill up this area over here. So give it some styling. Position equals to absolute. Bottom equals to 0, left equals to 0, right equals to 0, height equals to 30, and background color equals to colors.gray3. And after this view, we will include the bottom tab bar. And we will pass in the props as well, like this. Alright, save it. Perfect. Okay, so after the bottom tab navigator, the first screen that we'll be working on is the home screen. So head over to the home.js file. I am going to remove everything except for the container view, like this. I am going to get rid of these two as well. Okay. And now for the home screen, the first thing we have here is actually the header bar. And since we are going to need the header bar in the reward screen as well, I am going to create a standalone component for this. So create a new folder called components. Within the components folder, create a new file called header bar, like that. So over here, I need to import React from React. I need to import a couple of things from React Native. And I'm going to create the functional component over here. So constant header bar, like this, arrow function, return a normal view with a text that says header bar, because I want to test if it works or no. Alright. Don't forget we need to export default header bar over here. So after this, before we can render header bar component in the home.js file, we need to include we need to create a new file called index.js over here. And over here, we need to import header bar from header bar. And after that, we need to export the header bar, like that. Now, in the home.js file, I can then import from components, I can import the header bar. And I can render it like this. Save it, and yep, it's working. Now head back to the header bar component, and over here I'm going to import a couple more components from React Native. We need safe area view, we need view, we need touchable opacity, we need image, we need text, and perhaps later we might need the style sheet as well. Okay, now over here I'm going to import from constants. We need the sizes, colors, fonts, and also icons. Now within the header bar, we are going to return the safe area view like this. Give it some styling. The height is equals to 150, width equals to 100%. Background color equals to colors.purple, and flex direction equals to row. This is so that the greetings can be on the left and the toggle button can be on the right. Okay, let me try to save it first. Okay, so we have the background color in place. Now within the safe area view, we need two things, right? We need to render the greetings and also the toggle button. For greetings, we will give it a container view like this. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1. Padding left equals to sizes.padding. And within this view, we are going to render two different text components. The first one, we are going to render the username, which is Wendy in this case. I'm gonna just hard code it, and followed by welcome back. Give it some styling. Color equals to colors.white, and the font will be fonts.h2. Same thing goes for the welcome back greetings. Save it. Okay, cool. Next we'll need to work on the toggle button, which is this button over here. Okay, so for the toggle button, the first thing we need is to render the touchable opacity. Give it some styling. The flags direction equals to row. Align items equals to center. Justify content equals to flags n. Margin horizontal equals to sizes.padding. Height equals to 40. Border radius equals to 20. And lastly, the background color equals to colors.light purple. And now within this touchable opacity, we need to render sun icon and also the moon icon. So we have sun and also moon. So for the sun, I'm going to give it a container view as well. Give it some styling. Width equals to 40, height equals to 40. Align item center. Justify content equals to center as well. And within this view, we need an image component. The source will be icons.sunny, and the style is equals to height equals to 30, width equals to 30 as well, and tint color equals to colors.white. Alright, so we have successfully rendered the sun icon over here. Next, we'll need to render the moon icon, and it's almost the same, so I'm gonna just copy and paste it like this and change the icons to night. Alright, now we'll need to create the indicator for the toggle button. So to do that, I am going to use the style sheet. So constant styles equals to style sheet dot create. If the selected theme is night mode, so selected night mode style, then the border radius equals to 20 and background color equals to colors.black. Whereas if the selected theme is light mode, selected light mode style, the border radius equals to 20 as well, just that the background color equals to colors.yellow. As of now, I'm gonna just assume the default selected theme is the dark theme. Okay, so over here, I am going to use the spread operator to include the styling. Alright, so styles dot selected night mode style, like that. Okay, now before we proceed to work on the toggle button to toggle between light and dark theme, I am going to first create a scroll view with a background color of dark gray, so that it will be easier for us to test the light and dark theme later on. Okay, so head back to your home.js file, and over here I am going to import scroll view like that, and here I am going to render the scroll view. Give it some styling. Flags equals to 1, margin top equals to -25, border top left radius equals to sizes.radius times 2, border top right radius equals to same thing, sizes.radius times 2 as well, and background color equals to colors.gray tree. Save it. Oh, I'll need to import from constants. So import from constants, and over here we need a bunch of stuff. We need constants, we need icons, we need colors. we need fonts, we need images, sizes, and dummy data. Okay. Well, perhaps let me change the background color to secondary. I think it will be better. Okay. Alright, now before we can work on the toggle theme function, we need to first install a library called Redux. Okay, and to do that, open up your terminal and and type npm install react redux and redux tongue. Enter. Alright, now same thing, we need to run react native link and followed by the pod install in the iOS folder. Next, we'll need to restart the app. So close the app like that. Navigate back to the root folder and run react native run iOS. Alright, now that we have successfully installed Redux, the first thing we need to do is to create a folder called store, like that. And within the stores folder, we need to create two files, which are theme actions and also theme reducer. Whenever you are dealing with Redux, you will certainly need the action and also reducer. Okay. Now in the theme actions.js folder, we are going to import the light and dark theme from constants. Okay, so light and dark. And over here we need to declare some constant variables. So export constant toggle theme begin equals to toggle theme begin. And I'm going to copy and paste it like this and change this to success and this to failure. Okay. Next, we'll need to have a function called toggle theme, which basically for us to, change the theme, right? So it will take in one parameter called theme type, like that. And normally in Redux, for each of these action function, we need to create 3 more dispatch functions. Okay, so export constant toggle theme begin equals to arrow function return type equals to toggle theme begin. Next we have toggle theme success, right? And the selected theme over here, the type will be toggle theme success and the payload will be selected theme. These payload over here will then be passed over to the reducer file later on. Okay, and lastly we have toggle theme failure function. Error type equals to toggle theme failure and payload equals to error. Alright, now within the toggle theme function, we are going to return dispatch like this. And before we do anything else, we need to dispatch toggle theme begin. And after that, we will switch the type like that, theme type. So if the if the theme is equals to dark, then I will dispatch toggle theme success dark theme. I'm gonna copy and paste it like this. And if the theme type equals to light, I am going to dispatch the toggle theme success by passing the light theme over. And if the theme type is not one of these two, I am going to dispatch toggle theme failure and the error object equals to invalid theme type. That's it. Next, for the reducer, we will first need to import from the theme actions like this, and we will import everything as theme action type. And next we need to import from the constants as well. And here we need to import the selected team. And we are going to use this selected team, which is currently hard-coded to dark theme, and set it as the initial team. Okay, so constant initial state equals to app team selected team, like that, and error will be null. Next, we can then create the team reducer function over here, constant team reducer. The state will be the initial state. We will tag in action as well, arrow function, and over here we will be using the switch statement. We are going to switch based on the action.type, and if the action.type equals to team action types dot toggle team begin, I am going to simply return the state, and also error should be equals to null. And if the action.type equals to team action types dot toggle team success, I am going to return the state as well, just that this time I am going to override app team equals to action.payload dot selected team, which is the one we pass over from this page function over here, right? Okay. And lastly, if the action type equals to team action types dot toggle team failure, we are going to return the state as well, and we will need to override error equals to action.payload dot error. And if it's none of these, we are going to return the state itself, like that. And of course, don't forget we need to export default team reducer. Now up to this point, I would say we have successfully set up Redux in our project. But before we can use it, we need to sort of inject it in the app.js file. So head over to your app.js file, and over here we need to import a couple of things. We need to import from Redux, we need to import create store and apply middleware. And also we need to import from React Redux, like that. And we need to import provider. We need to import from Redux tongue, and this one will be tongue itself. And lastly, we need to import from stores team reducer, and this one will be team reducer, like that. Now right before the app functional component, we are going to create the store. So constant store equals to create store, and we are going to pass in the team reducer and apply middleware thunk, like that. And lastly, we will need to wrap this whole thing within provider, and the store equals to store. That's it. Alright, now what I would like to do next is that I want to be able to toggle this indicator based on Redux. So to do that, head over to the headerbar.js, scroll to the top, and over here we need to import from React Redux, and over here we need to import connect, like that. And now scroll to the bottom, and over here we need to be able to sort of inject the dispatch function from team actions.js, and also the state from, which means the app team actually, from team reducer into header bar. And to do that, we need to create two functions. The first one is the map state to props function. The param will be equals to state, and we are going to return app team state.app team, and error equals to state.error. What we are doing here is basically we are getting the values from team reducer initial state, which is these two properties, and inject it into the header bar component through props. Okay, so next we need to create another function called map dispatch to props. So the param equals to dispatch, and we will return toggle team The param is theme type, arrow function, and we are going to return a dispatch call to toggle theme function. Pass in theme type. Okay, so for this function, what it does is basically to inject the toggle theme function from themeactions.js into header bar as props as well. Okay, and lastly, we will need to export default, connect map stat to prop, and map dispatch to prop into header bar. And we can get rid of this. And since we are injecting the state and also the dispatch function as prop, we will need to include it over here before we can use it, alright? So we have app theme and also toggle theme. Now if you were to save it, nothing should change, okay? Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a function over here called function toggle theme handler. And within this function, if the current selected theme, which is app theme dot name equals to light, which means the current selected theme is actually light theme, then I am going to trigger the toggle theme function by passing dark over. If the current selected theme is dark theme, then I'm going to trigger the toggle theme function by passing light over, like that. And now, whenever the toggle button is being clicked, I want this function to be called. And to do that, within the touchable opacity, we need to add in the onPress prop. And over here, we will call the toggle theme handler. And if you were to save it, nothing should change as well, even if I click on the toggle button. Oh, I think I forgot to import the toggle theme. Okay. So over here, we need to import from the stores theme actions, and we need to import the toggle theme function over here. Save it, and now you should be able to click on the toggle button without any error. Now in order to change the indicator depending on the selected theme, we will need to do some checking over here. Alright, I'm gonna use the spread operator, and if the current selected theme equals to light, I am going to render the selected light mode style, and if it's not, it will be an empty object like this. And for the moon, if the current selected theme equals to dark, then I am going to render selected night mode style, and if it's not, I'm going to simply return an empty object. Now try to save it. There you go. We should be able to trigger the toggle now. Perfect. Alright, so next thing I want to do is that I want to be able to sort of change the background color of this scroll view based on the selected theme. Alright, so to do that, head over to your hom.js file, and over here we need to import from Redux, and here we need to import connect. And since it will be more or less the same, I'm going to copy from header bar component like this and paste it in the hom.js file. So I'm going to replace this with this and change this to hom. And since we are not using the toggle theme function over here, we can safely remove this. Alright, now save it. Nothing should change at the moment, even if we toggle the theme. That's because we need to do some configuration over here. So the background color for the scroll view should be app theme. Oh, and I forgot to import it like this. App theme. Yep. The background color should be equals to app theme dot background color. Save it. Now, if I were to toggle the theme, it should change accordingly. Sweet. Alright, so the light and dark theme toggle button is all set. Next, we'll be working on these sections over here. So within the scroll view, we will have the reward section, and followed by the promo div section over here. So go back to the source code, and within the scroll view, we will have the reward section like that, and also the promo section. Oh, before I forgot, we need to add some padding bottom for the scroll view as well. So content container style, padding bottom 150. This is so that the scroll view, the content of the scroll view will not be blocked by this floating button later on, okay? So now for the reward section, which is this section over here, we are going to render a new function called render available rewards. And we are going to create this function over here. Return something. Now for this reward section, this whole thing here should be a button, alright? So we will wrap this whole thing within a touchable opacity. Give it some styling. Flex direction equals to row. Margin top equals to sizes.padding. Margin horizontal equals to sizes.padding as well. And the height will be 100. And whenever I click on this button, this reward section button, I am going to navigate to the reward screen. Now within this touchable opacity, we will have two different sections. The first section on the left is the reward cup section, and the second section on the right is the reward details. Okay, so over here within the touchable opacity, we have reward cup section and followed by the reward details section. So for the reward cup section, we need a container view. Give it some styling. Width equals to 100. Height equals to 100%. Align item center. Justify content center as well. Background color equals to colors.pink. And don't forget, we need to include the border radius for these two parts as well. So border top left radius equals to 15, and border bottom left radius equals to 15 as well. Save it. Alright, so the container view is in place. Next, we'll be using the image background component to render the reward cup so that we can render the text component in the middle later on. Okay, so within this container view, we are going to render image background component like that. The source is icons.rewardCup. Resize mode equals to contain. The style is going to be width at D5, height at D5 as well. Margin left equals to 3. Align item center and justify content center as well. Save it. Alright, so the reward cup icon is in place. All we need to do now is to render the text component. So over here, we will have another container view. Give it some styling. Width equals to 30, height equals to 30, border radius equals to 15, align item center, justify content center as well, and background color equals to colors.transparent black. And now within this container view, we will have the text component. I'm just gonna hard code it to 280 and give it some styling. The color should be white, and the font should be H4. Save it. Alright, cool. So we have the reward cup section completed. Next, we'll be working on the reward details section over here. Okay. So for the reward details section, we are going to need a container view as well. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1. Background color equals to colors.light pink. Margin left equals to -10. Border radius equals to 15. Align item equals to center, and justify content equals to center as well. Alright, so the container view is in place. Next, we are going to render the text component. So the title is going to be available rewards, and the style is going to be color equals to colors.primary, fonts equals to h2. Just that I would like to override the font size to 20. Save it. Alright, we are almost there. All we need to do now is to render this part over here. Okay, so underneath the text component, we will create a view with a bit of styling. Margin top equals to 5. Padding equals to sizes.base. Border radius equals to sizes.radius times 2, and background color equals to colors.primary. And within this view, we will have the text component. And in order not to complicate things, I'm just gonna hard code it like this. So 150 points, we will get 250 off. And give it some styling. Color equals to white, and the font equals to body tree. Perfect. Alright, next we'll be working on the promo section over here. So to do that, we will render a new function called render promo deals. And we will create this function over here. So function render promo deals return something. So the first thing we need here is basically a container view. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1, and align item equals to center. And within this container view, we will have mainly two different sections, which are the header section, which is these tabs over here, and also the detail section over here. Okay, so within the view, we will have the header section, which is basically the tabs, and also the detail section. So for the tabs, we are going to render it like this. Tabs, and this tabs component is going to tag in app theme as one of the props. Okay, this is so that we can customize the tab background color in accordance to the selected theme over here. Okay, so I think that's all for now. We are going to add a few more props later on, and now we are going to create this tabs component over here. So constant tabs, and it has one prop for now, which is the app theme arrow function, and we will return something. So for the tabs component, the first thing we need here is the container view. Give it some styling. Flex direction equals to row. Align item equals to center. Justify content equals to space between. Margin top equals to sizes.padding. For the background color, we are going to get it from app theme dot tab background color. And lastly, the border radius should be sizes.radius. And now within this container view, we need to render two different things. We need to render the tabs itself, of course, and also we need to render the tab indicator. So within the view, we are going to render the tab indicator and also the tab itself. For now, let's work on the tabs first. So for the tabs, we are going to use the map method to render 3 buttons over here. Okay, so first thing first, we need to populate the promo tabs data. So over here, we are going to create a constant variable called promo tabs, and it's getting the value from constants.promo tabs. Alright, now we can then use the map method to render these promo tabs. Okay, so promo tabs.map item index arrow function, and we are going to return the touchable opacity. Make sure to supply the key as well. So key equals to promo tab index. And whenever I click on this, I'm just gonna simply console log item for now. And within this touchable opacity, we are going to have a container view. Give it some styling. padding horizontal equals to 15, align items equals to center, justify content equals to center as well, and height equals to 40. And now we can then render the text component. So we are going to render item.title. Give it some styling as well. Color equals to colors.white, and the fonts equals to H3. Save it. Alright, so we have the tabs in place. And if I were to toggle the theme, it should change accordingly as well. Great. And now for the tab indicator, we are going to create a component as well called tab indicator. And we will create the component over here. So constant tab indicator, it's not taking any props for now, and arrow function. Oops. And we will basically render a dummy view. Okay, so view, give it some styling. So position has to be absolute. Height equals to 100%. Width, I'm gonna give it a dummy value, which is 100. Left equals to 0. Border radius equals to sizes.radius. And background color equals to colors.primary. Alright, so the tab indicator is in place. It doesn't do anything for now, but we are going to animate it in accordance to the promo list over here. Okay. Alright, so we will revisit the tabs shortly, and we will now work on the promo list. Okay. So for the promo list, I am going to use the animated flat list. This is so that we can get the scroll X position to animate the tab indicator later on. Alright, so head over to the render promo function. Over here, in the details section, I am going to create the animated flat list. So the data is going to be dummy data.promos. It should be horizontal. It should be paging enabled. Scroll event throttle should be 16. Snap to alignment equals to center. Shows horizontal scroll indicator equals to false. And don't forget, we need to get the scroll X position. So on scroll equals to animated.event native event content offset X scroll X. And over here, the use native driver equals to false. And don't forget, we need to initialize the scroll X variable at the top. Over here, so constant scroll X equals to react.useRef new animated value. The initial value is going to be 0.current. Okay. And next for the rendered item, so we have item index arrow function. So first thing first, we need to render the container view. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1. Align item equals to center. Width equals to sizes.width. And padding top equals to sizes.padding. Save it. Oh, I almost forgot, I need to include the key extractor props over here. So key extractor equals to item.id. Alright, and now within the container view, we have the image itself, we have name, we have description, we have calories, and lastly we have the button. So within the view, we have image, we have name, description, calories, and button. So for the image, we need the image component. The source equals to images.storeberry background. Resize mode equals to contain and style equals to width 100%. Oh, I need to import the image over here. So render promo, okay. Oh, the reason why the image is not showing is because I forgot to return over here. Alright, save it. Okay, so we have the image over here. Next, we need to render the name. So text, item name, give it some styling. Color equals to colors.rate. The font equals to H1. Just that I would like to override the font size to 27. Alright, and next we have the description. So item.description, give it some styling. Margin top equals to 3. Color equals to app theme dot text color. And the fonts equals to fonts.body4. Alright, next will be calories, same thing, text component. Calories will be item.calories. Give it some styling. Margin top equals to 3 as well. Color equals to app theme dot text color. And the font equals to body4 as well. Okay. Alright, and now for the button, which is this button over here, we are going to create a standalone component for this so that we can use it in other screens as well. Okay, so now head over to the components folder, create a new file called custom button. Same thing, I'm going to import from React. I'm going to import a couple of things from React Native. So I need touchable opacity, and I need text component. We need to import colors from constants as well. After that, we can then create the custom button functional component. So constant custom button, arrow function, return something, and don't forget we need to export default custom button as well. And for this component, we are going to tag in a few props. So we need the container style, we need label style, we need the label, we need onPress, and also we need the is primary button flag, and also the is secondary button flag. The reason why we need these two flags is because there are mainly two different types of buttons in this project, alright? So we have this type of button with background color, and also this type of button without background color, okay? So within the return statement, we are going to return the touchable opacity, give it some styling. So align item center, justify content center as well. And for the background color, if is primary button equals to true, then we are going to use the primary color. If it's not, then it's going to be transparent. For the border color, if it is secondary button, then we are going to return the primary color. If it's not, then it's going to be transparent. For the border width, if it's a secondary button, then it's going to be 1. If it's not, it's going to be 0. And over here, we will include the container style as well. And for the onPress equals to onPress. And within the touchable opacity, we are going to render the text component. So this one's going to be label. Give it some styling. So if it's primary button, then the color should be white. If it's not, then it should be primary. And we are going to include the label style over here as well. Alright, save it, and we can include it in the index.js file. So I'm going to change this to custom button and export it over here. Alright, now we can then head back to the home.js file, in the button section, before this, we need to include the component first. So we need to include custom button like that, and go back to the render promo function. Within the button section, we can then render the custom button. So the label is going to be order now. This is a primary button, and the container style equals to margin top will be 10, padding horizontal will be sizes.padding, padding vertical equals to sizes.base, border radius equals to sizes.radius times 2, and the label style is going to be fonts h3. And whenever I click on this order button, I am going to navigate to the location screen. Save it. Alright, cool. So we have the promo list ready, and if I were to click on this button, it should take me to the location screen. Perfect. Alright, now we are going to take a look at how we can animate this tap indicator based on the scroll X position. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to pass the scroll X to the taps component. So we can do it like this. So scroll X equals to scroll X. And now head over to the taps component. Over here, we can then include the scroll X. Okay. Now in order to animate this tap indicator, we need to be able to get two key information. The first one is actually the X position of each of these tabs, and the second piece of information is actually the width of each of these tabs. In order to get these two values, you can of course hardcode it, which is not recommended, or you can use React Native Ref to measure the layout, which is exactly what we are going to do next. So the first thing we need to do over here is that instead of getting the promo tabs directly from the constants, we are going to create ref and inject it into each of these items. Okay, so I'm going to use the map method, promo tab, arrow function. I am going to use the spread operator over here, so promo tab, and we will inject the ref over here. So ref react.create ref, like that. And now in the tabs component, when we are rendering the promo tabs over here, I am going to set the ref of this view. So ref equals to item.ref. Now with this line of code, we have access to the ref property of each of these tabs, which will then allow us to measure the layout. So now at the top of the tabs component, we are going to use the useState hook to store the measure layout information. Alright, so constant measure layout, set measure layout equals to react.useState, and this is going to be an empty array. And now before we can actually measure the layout of each of these tabs, we need to specify which one is the container ref. So over here, constant container ref equals to react.useRef, and we are going to set the container ref to the ref of our container view, like that. Okay, and now within the tabs component, we can then include the useEffect hook, so react.useEffect, like that, and we will listen to the container ref.current. So within the useEffect hook, what we are going to do is that we are going to loop through each of these tabs, get access to the ref, and measure the layout. Alright, so over here I'm going to create an empty array, and we are going to loop through the promo tabs by using the for each method, like that, arrow function, and now we can then access to the ref.current.measure layout. So for the first param, we need to supply the container ref, so like that, container ref.current, and then now we should be able to get access to the X position, Y position, the width, and the height of each of these tabs. So over here, arrow function, And now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to simply console log this whole thing. Alright, now save it. There you go. So we got access to the X position, the Y position, the width and the height of each of these tabs. And now with this information, we can then push it into our array. So over here it will be X, Y, the width and the height. And once the length of the this array equals to the length of promo tabs, then we are going to set the measure layout like that. Alright, and then in the tab indicator section, we can then check if the measure layout is being populated, dot length more than 0, then we are going to render the tab indicator. And for the tab indicator, we are going to pass in two props. One is the measure layout, which is basically the layout information of each of these tabs, and also we need to pass in the scroll X. And now for the tab indicator component, over here, we will then include the measure layout and scroll X as props. Okay, so first thing first, I'm going to try to animate the width of the tab indicator in accordance to the width of each of these tabs. Let's see how I can do that. So instead of using the ordinary view, we are going to use the animated.view. And over here, we need to set up the input range. So constant input range equals to promo tabs dot map. We can omit the first parameter and get the index, and then we can get the width. So I multiply by sizes.width. Next, we can then calculate the tab indicator width over here. So constant tab indicator width equals to scroll X dot interpolate, and we are going to supply the input range over here. And for the output range, we will be taking the width from the measure layout array. So measure layout dot map measure arrow function, we are going to return the measure.width. Alright, now instead of hard coding it to 100, we can change it to tab indicator width. Now if I were to save it, the width of the tab indicator will animate and change accordingly. Alright, perfect. And next we are going to animate the X position. So over here, constant translate X equals to scroll X dot interpolate. The input range is the same, which is input range, and the output range, instead of getting the width, we are going to get the X position this time. And now over here, we can then use the transform property like this and include the translate X. Save it. Oops, a bit of typo. Now let me refresh the app. And now if I were to scroll the list view or the promo list, it should animate accordingly. Sweet. Alright, now the last thing we are going to do for the home screen is that whenever we click on the tab, the flat list underneath here should scroll accordingly as well. Okay, so in order to do that, first head over to the render promo function, scroll down to the flat list, and over here we need to assign the ref. So ref equals to promo scroll view ref, like that. And we are going to create this ref over here. So constant promo scroll view ref equals to react.useRef. Alright, now with this ref, we can then manipulate the flat list over here. Next, we'll need to make use of the use callback hook. So constant on promo tab press, which means whenever I click on this button, I'll make use of the react.use callback hook. I'll pass in the index. Over here will be the arrow function. And now whenever the tab is being pressed, I will make use of the ref. So promo scroll view ref dot current dot scroll to offset, and the offset is equals to promo tab index multiplied by sizes.width. And now all we need to do is to pass this over to the tabs component. So scroll down. In the render promo deals function, for the tabs component, we are going to pass over the onPromo tab press as well. And now in the tabs component, alright, over here, we will then include the onPromo tab press, and we will use it over here. So whenever I click on this tab, I should call the onPromo tab press, and at the same time I'll pass over the index as well. So save it. And now if I were to click on this tab, the flat list should scroll accordingly as well. Alright, perfect. There is actually one more thing I would like to do. I would like to animate the tab color as well. So to do that, at the top of the tabs component, we need to first calculate the tab position. So constant tab position equals to animated.divide scroll x sizes.width. Alright, once we got the tab position over here, when we are rendering the promo tabs, we can then use the interpolate method to get the text color. So constant text color equals to tab position dot interpolate. The input range equals to index minus 1 index plus 1, and the output range will be colors.lightgray to colors.white and colors.lightgray 2, and the extrapolate equals to claim. And lastly, we can then replace the color with this. Don't forget, we need to change the component to animated.text over here as well. Now save it. Alright, now the text color should animate accordingly as well. Perfect. Alright, so that's all for the home screen. Next we'll be working on the reward screen. So for the reward screen, it's actually more or less the same as the home screen. So we have the header bar over here and followed by the rewards detail underneath. So head over to the rewards.js. Over here, we are going to import the flat list and also image background. After that, we need to import a couple of things from the components. So import from components, we need the header bar and also custom button. Next, we need to import from the constants as well. So constants, over here we need the dummy data, we need colors, fonts, sizes, and also icons. Don't forget, we need to make sure the rewards component is connected to the Redux as well. So import React Redux. Over here, it's going to be connect. And for this, I'm going to simply copy and paste from the home.js file. So scroll to the bottom. I'm going to copy this whole thing over here and paste it in the rewards file. And I'm going to replace this with rewards. And we can get rid of this. Okay, now we just need to add a few more props for the rewards component. So we need the navigation and also the app theme. This one's actually from the Redux. Okay, alright, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove these two properties. Alright, we don't need them. Save it. And I'm going to replace this text component with the header bar component. Save it. And now if we were to toggle the theme, it should change the theme in the home screen as well. Perfect, perfect. Alright, so now the header bar is completed. Next we'll be working on the reward list. Okay, so what we are going to do is that we are going to use flat list to render the available rewards over here. And we are going to use the flat list header component props to render everything over here. Alright, so let's see how we can do that. So here we have the header. And next we'll be working on the details. Alright, we are going to render the flat list. Give it some styling. Margin top equals to -25. Border top left radius equals to sizes.radius times 2. This is actually for these two borders over here. Border radius over here. Alright, and border top right radius equals to sizes.radius times 2 as well, and the background color should be app theme dot background color. The data of the flat list should be equals to dummy data dot available rewards. The key extractor should be item.id. Shows vertical scroll indicator should be equals to false. And what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to first render the available reward list before we move on to the other components over here. Okay, so the render item equals to item arrow function, and over here we are going to return the view, give it some styling, align item equals to center, justify content equals to center as well, margin horizontal equals to sizes.padding, margin bottom equals to sizes.base, padding vertical equals to sizes.base as well, border radius equals to 20, and for the background color, if the eligible property equals to true, we are going to render yellow. If it's not, we are going to render gray. Alright, so for the background color, if the item.eligible equals to true, then we are going to render yellow. If it's not, we are going to render gray. Save it. Alright, now within these container view, we need to render the text component. So we need to render item.title, give it some styling, oops, okay. For the color, if the item.eligible equals to true, then we will render it with black color. If it's not, it's going to be light gray. And the font, it's going to be fonts.body3. Alright, save it. Okay, cool. So the available reward list is in place, and if I were to toggle the theme, it should work as well. Perfect. Alright, next we'll make use of the list header component props. So list header component, and within this prop, we are going to render 3 different sections. Okay. The first section is the reward point section, which includes the text component as well as the image component over here. The second section that we'll be working on is the button section. And lastly, the third section is going to be the reward label over here. Okay. So now over here we have the reward point section, we have the button section, and also the header label section. So for the reward point section, we are going to render a new function over here called render reward point section. And we are going to create this function over here. So function render reward point section, and we are going to return something. So the first thing we need for this section is a container view, like that. Give it some styling. Align item should be equals to center. Margin vertical equals to sizes.padding. And now within this container view, we are going to render the text component and followed by the image. Alright, so over here we have the text component and followed by image. So over here we will render the text component, and it's going to be rewards. Give it some styling. Color equals to colors.primary. The fonts will be H1, just that I would like to override the font size to 35. Save it. Alright, so we have the rewards label in place. Next, we need to render the second text component over here. So we need another text component, and I'm just gonna hard code it like this. So you are 60 points away from your next reward. Give it some styling as well. So color equals to app theme dot text color. Width equals to sizes.width multiplied by 0.6. Text align equals to center. The font should be H3, just that I would like to override the line height to 18. Oh, and I need to include the margin top as well over here, equals to 10. Save it. Alright, so we have the text components in place. Next, we are going to render this image over here. Now, if you pay attention to this image, there is a text component in the middle. In other words, the structure should be more or less the same as the one we have in the home screen over here. Okay? So for the image, we are going to use the image background component. The source, is going to be icons.reword cup. Resize mode equals to contain, and the style is going to be margin top sizes.padding. Width equals to sizes.width multiplied by 0.8. The height is going to be same thing, sizes.width multiplied by 0.8 as well. Align item equals to center. Justify content equals to center as well. Save it. Alright, so we have the image in place. Now within the image background component, we are going to render a container view like this. Give it some styling. Width equals to 70. Height equals to 70. Border radius equals to 35. Align items equals to center. Justify content equals to center as well. And the background color equals to colors.white. And within this view, we are going to render the text component. And we are going to hardcode the reward point to 280. Give it some styling. The font is going to be H1. Save it. Alright, so the first section is completed. Next, we are going to render the button section. Okay, so in the list header component, we are going to render a new function called render buttons. And we are going to create this function over here. Function render buttons. And we are going to return a container view like that. Give it some styling. Flags direction equals to row. Align items equals to center. Justify content equals to center as well. Now within this container view, we are going to render two buttons, which are the scan button and also the redeem button. Okay, so here we have the scan button and also redeem button. And we are going to make use of the custom button component that we have created previously. So custom button is primary button equals to true. Label equals to scan and store. Container style equals to width will be 130. Padding vertical equals to 5. Margin right equals to sizes.radius. Border radius equals to sizes.radius times 2. And the label style is going to be fonts H3. And whenever I click on this button, I'm just gonna navigate to the location screen. Alright, save it. So the scan button is in place. Next, I'm going to work on the redeem button. Same thing, we are going to use the custom button component. This time it's going to be a secondary button equals to true. Label equals to redeem. Container style width equals to 130. Padding vertical equals to 5. Border radius equals to sizes.radius times 2. And the label style is going to be fonts.h3. And same thing, whenever I click on the redeem button, I am going to navigate to the location screen as well. Save it. Alright, so the button section is in place. Cool. And now for the last section, we are going to render the header label over here. So in the list header component, we are going to render a new function called render available rewards header. And we are going to create this function over here. So function render available rewards header, and we are going to return a container view, give it some styling, margin top equals to sizes.padding, margin bottom equals to sizes.radius, padding horizontal equals to sizes.padding. And now within this container view, we are going to render the text component. So over here, it's going to be available rewards, give it some styling. The color will be app_theme.textcolor, and the font is going to be fonts.h2. Save it. Alright, so the reward screen is almost ready. Notice that we are facing an issue here whereby the content of the flat list is being blocked by the bottom tab navigator over here. So in order to resolve this, we are going to use another prop called list footer component, and we are going to render an empty view with a bit of margin bottom, like that. Save it, and now it should work properly. Let me try the toggle as well. Alright, it's working. Great. So that's all for the reward screen. Next, we'll be working on the location screen. So for the location screen, we have the header bar over here. We have tab buttons, search bar, and lastly is the location list. So now head over to the location screen over here, and we are going to import a couple of components from React Native. So we need a safe area view, we need text, touchable opacity, we need image, we need text input, and we need flat list. Next, we need to import from the constants. We need dummy data, we need colors, we need sizes, we need fonts, and also icons. And don't forget, we need to connect the location component to the Redux that we have already set up. So we need to import from React Redux, and over here we need the connect. Same thing, I'm going to copy and paste it from the hom.js like that. I'm gonna paste it over here, and I'm going to replace this with location. And now we can get rid of this. And don't forget, we need to add a few props for the location component. So we need navigation, and also we need the app theme from Redux over here. Okay, so now for the location screen, the first thing I'll be working on is the header section over here. So first thing first, we need to get rid of this. We don't need them. And also we get rid of these two properties as well. And now within the container view, we have the header section, and we are going to render a new function called render header. And we will be creating this function over here. So function render header, like that, and return something. So now we will return a safe area view, like that. Give it some styling. Height equals to 120. Background color equals to colors.primary. And align item equals to center. And now within the safe area view, we need another container view, like that. Give it some styling. Flex direction equals to row. Padding horizontal equals to sizes.radius. Align items equals to center. Okay. And now within this container view, we are going to render an icon button, and followed by the text component. And for the icon button, we are going to create a standalone component for this. So head over to the components folder, create a new file called icon button. Same thing, we need to import from React. We need to import a few components from React Native. So we need touchable opacity, and also image. And lastly, we need to import from constants. We need the colors. Alright, and over here we will create the icon button functional component. And this component will receive 4 props, which are container style, icon style, icon, and onPress. Alright, so arrow function return something. Don't forget we need to export default icon button. And now within the return statement, we are going to return the touchable opacity, give it some styling, align item equals to center, justify content equals to center as well, and we are going to include the container style. And within the touchable opacity, we have the image component. Source equals to icon, resize mode equals to contain, and style equals to width 25, height 25, tint color equals to colors.white, and we will include the icon style over here. Oh, and the onPress equals to onPress, like that. After that, we can head over to the index.js file, copy this, change it to icon button, and export it over here. Alright, now head back to the location screen. Make sure to import the component over here. So import components, we need the icon button. So now within the container view over here, we can then render the back button. Here it's going to be title, like that. And also we need to create another empty view over here so that the title will be placed in the middle. Alright, so for the back button, we are going to render icon button like that. The icon equals to icons.left arrow. And whenever I click on this button, onPress, I should be able to go back to the previous screen. So navigation dot go back, like that. And navigate to the location screen. Alright, so we have the back button in place. Next will be the text component for the title. So over here we need a container view. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1. Align item equals to center. And within this view, we are going to render the text component. And this is going to be locations. Give it some styling as well. Color equals to white. Fonts equals to H1, and I would like to override the font size to 25. Save it. Alright, we are almost there. All we need is an empty view over here so that the title will be in the middle. So style width 25. Perfect. Alright, so after the header section, we are going to create a container view for the detail section over here. Okay? So underneath the header section, we are going to render the detail section, and over here we need a container view like that. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1. Background color equals to app theme dot background color. Margin top equals to -20. Border top left radius equals to sizes dot radius times 2. Border top right radius equals to sizes.radius times 2 as well, and padding will be sizes.padding. Save it. Alright, now the container view is in place. Next we are going to work on the tab buttons over here. And since we'll be using it for multiple times, and also we'll be using it in the other screen over here, I am going to create a standalone component for the tab buttons. Alright, so head over to the components folder, create a new file called tab button. Over here we need to import React from React. We need to import a couple things from React Native. We need touchable opacity. We need view, and also we need text. After that we need to import from constants. We need colors and also fonts. And now we can then create the tab button functional component. So for this component, we need a few props, which are container style, label, selected, and onPress. Alright, so arrow function over here, return something, and don't forget we need to export default tab button. And within the return statement, we are going to return the touchable opacity, give it some styling, align item equals to center, and we will include the container style as well. And over here, the onPress equals to onPress. Now within the touchable opacity, we are going to render two things, which are the text component and also a line underneath. Alright, so we need a text. Let me just do some comment as well. Text and also line. Alright, so for the text component, we are going to render label, give it some styling. For the color, if it's selected, then it will be colors.primary. If it's not, then it will be colors.grade. The fonts will be fonts.body2, just that I would like to modify the font size to 18. And now for the line, we are going to create a view like this, give it some styling. Margin top, if it's being selected, it will be 3. If it's not, it will be 4. Height, if it's being selected, then it will be 4. If it's not, then it will be 2. Width will be 100%. And the background color equals to, if it's being selected, then it will be primary color. If it's not, then it will be gray. Alright, save it. And now you can then export it in the index.js file. Copy this and change this to tab button and export it over here. Now head back to the location screen. Within the container view, we are going to render a new function called render top bar section. And we will create this function over here. So function render top bar section, and we are going to return a container view, give it some styling. Flex direction equals to row. And now within this container view, we will be having 3 tab buttons, which are nearby, previous, and favorite. So we have nearby, we have previous, and also favorite. And we need to import the tab button over here, like that. And we can then use it over here now. So tab button, container style equals to width will be 80. Label is going to be nearby. Try to save it. Next we have the previous tab button. Alright, so tab button, container style, width equals to 100, and the label equals to previous. Alright, and the last one is going to be the favorite. So tab button, same thing, container style equals to width 100 and label equals to favorite. Okay, the padding is missing. I'm pretty sure there's a typo over here. Alright, so sizes.padding, like that. Okay, next we need to make sure these tab buttons are clickable. And to do that, we are going to use the useState hook. So scroll to the top, over here, constant selected tab, set selected tab equals to react.useState, initial value is going to be 0. And now back to the tab button component. Over here, we are going to include the selected prop, like that. And it will be true if the selected tab equals to 0. And whenever I click on this tab button, I am going to set the selected tab to 0. And now I'm going to just copy and paste it over here and here. And next I'm going to change this to 1 and this one to 2. Save it. And now you should be able to change the tab button like this. Perfect. Alright, so after the top bar section, we are going to work on the search bar. So to do that, we are going to render a new function over here. And we are going to name the function as render search bar. Same thing, we are going to create this function over here. So function render search bar. And now we will return a container view, give it some styling, flex direction equals to row, margin top equals to sizes.radius, height equals to 50, padding horizontal equals to sizes.padding, border radius equals to 25, background color equals to colors.light green, 2, and the align item should be equals to center. Now within this container view, we are going to have the text input component on one side and also the search icon on the other side. So over here, we have the text input. Give it some styling. Flex should be equals to 1. Height equals to 50. Color equals to black. And the font equals to fonts.body3. And for the placeholder, it's going to be enter your city, state, or zip code. And the placeholder text color is going to be colors.light gray 2. Alright, so underneath the text input, we are going to render the search icon. So image. Source is going to be icons.search, and style is going to be width 30, height 30, and the tint color is going to be colors.light gray 2. Save it. Alright, sweet. So for the last part of the location screen, we are going to render a list of location by using flat list. So over here, we are going to render a new function called render location list. And we will be creating this function over here. Now this function is going to return a flat list like this. Give it some styling. So margin top equals to sizes.radius, padding horizontal equals to sizes.radius as well. The data is going to be dummy data.locations. The key extractor is going to be item.id. Shows vertical scroll indicator equals to false. Keyboard dismiss mode equals to on drag, which means whenever we scroll through the list, it will actually hide the keyboard. Okay, now for the render item, over here is going to be item, arrow function, and since this whole thing is actually a button, we are going to return a touchable opacity as the container. Give it some styling. Margin bottom equals to sizes.radius. Border radius equals to sizes.radius times 2. Padding horizontal equals to sizes.padding. Padding vertical equals to sizes.radius. And background color equals to app theme.card background color. And whenever I click on this button, I should be able to navigate to the order screen. So navigation.navigate to the order screen. And I'm going to pass over the selected location as well. Like that. Save it. Alright, now within the touchable opacity, we are going to render the name and bookmark, the address, the operation hours, and also the buttons. Alright, so over here, we are going to render the name and bookmark, address, operation hours, and also buttons. So for the name and bookmark, we are going to create a container view. Give it some styling. The flex direction equals to row. And now over here we need to render the text component, and it's going to be item.title. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1. Color equals to app theme dot text color. And the fonts equals to H2, like that. Save it. Alright, so we have the title in place. Next we need to render the bookmark icon. So over here, we are going to render the image component. And for the source, it's going to be if the item is bookmarked like that, then the icon will be icons.bookmark field. And if it's not, it's going to be icons.bookmark. And for the style, it's going to be height 20, width 20, and tint color equals to, if the item.bookmark is true, then we will return colors.red, and if it's not, it's going to be colors.white. Save it. Alright. After the name and bookmark section, we are going to render the address. Okay, so over here, same thing, we need a container view. Give it some styling. Margin top equals to sizes.base, and width equals to 80%. And within this view, we are going to render the text component. Over here, it's going to be item.address. Give it some styling. Color equals to app theme.text color, and the font is body tree. Just that I would like to override the line height to 21. Save it. Alright, we are almost there. After the address, we are going to render the operation hours. So over here, same thing, we need the container view. Give it some styling. Margin top equals to sizes.base, and we are going to render the text component as well. This one's going to be item.operation hours, and the style is going to be color equals to app theme.text color, fonts equals to body 5, and I would like to override the line height to 16. Alright, so the last part of the location list is the services. I'm sorry, it's not buttons, it's called services. Alright, now for this, same thing, we need the container view as well. Give it some styling. Flex direction equals to row. Margin top equals to sizes.base. And now within the container view, we are going to render the pickup service and also the delivery service. Alright, so here we have pickup and also delivery. Same thing for this, we need a container view. Give it some styling. Border color equals to app theme.text color. Border width equals to 1. Border radius equals to 20. Padding horizontal equals to sizes.radius, and padding vertical equals to 5. And now within this view, we are going to render the text component that says pickup. Give it some styling. Color equals to app theme.text color, and fonts equals to body tree. Save it. Alright, now for the delivery, I'm gonna just copy and paste it over here like this. I'm going to include the margin left equals to 5, and this one should be delivery. Save it. Alright, so the location list is completed. Great. So after the location screen, next we'll be working on the order screen. So what we have in the order screen is that we have the header section over here, and within the detail section, we have these tab buttons, which we have already developed in this screen, location screen. Alright, and we have this listing over here, and also we have this vertical sidebar over here that can, change the listing. Alright, now let's see how we can achieve that. Head over to the order.js file, and over here we are going to import a few more components. So we need save area view, we need text, we need touchable without feedback, we need image, and also we need flat list. Alright, after this we need to import from constants, we need dummy data, we need fonts, colors, sizes, and icons. We also need to import from the components. So over here we need the icon button and also tab button. And lastly, don't forget we need to import from import from React Redux as well. So we need the connect. Same thing, I'm just going to copy and paste it from the home screen like that and paste it over here. And I'm going to replace this with order. Alright, now we can get rid of this. And now we need to import a few more things for the prop. So we need navigation, we need route, and also the app theme. Alright, now everything should still be the same. Okay, just that I would like to remove this and also these two properties over here. Alright, now remember that in the location screen, when we navigate to the order screen, we have actually passed the selected location over. So in the order screen, what I would like to do here is that I would like to retrieve the route params, which is the selected location, and store it in the useState hook. So constant selected location, set selected location equals to react.useState, and this one's going to be now. And then we are going to use the useEffect hook like that. Arrow function, and now I will get the selected location from route.params. Once I got it, I will set the selected location with the selected location like that. Alright, now the first component that we'll be working on is the header section. And in the header section, we have the icon button, which is a back button over here, and also a text component in the middle, and lastly is the location name. Alright, so to do that, we are going to render a new function over here, and I'm gonna call this render header section, and I'm going to create this function over here. And within this function, we are going to return a safe area view, give it some styling. The height equals to 200, background color equals to colors.primary, and align item equals to center. Save it. Alright, now the container view is in place. So within this container view, there will mainly be two sections, which are the navbar and also the location. Alright, so here we have the navbar and also location. So for the navbar, we are going to render a container view, give it some styling. Flags direction equals to row, padding horizontal equals to sizes.radius, align items equals to center. And within the navbar container, we are going to render the icon button. Icon equals to icons.left arrow, and on press, whenever I click on this icon button, I would like to go back to the previous screen. So navigation.go back. Save it. Alright, so the button is in place. Next, we need to render the text component, and to do that, we need another container view. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1, align items equals to center. Here we are going to render the text component. It's going to be pickup order. Give it some styling. Color equals to white, and the fonts equals to H1. Just that I would like to override the font size to 25. Save it. Alright, almost there. All we need is an empty view over here so that the text component will be in the middle. So style equals to width 25. Perfect. And after the navbar, we have the location, right? So over here, we need another container view. Give it some styling. Margin top equals to sizes.radius, background color equals to colors.white 1, padding horizontal equals to sizes.radius, padding vertical equals to 5, and border radius equals to sizes.padding. Now within this view, we are going to render the text component, and here is going to be selected location title. Give it some styling. Color is going to be primary, and fonts will be body tree. Perfect. Now if I were to choose other location, it should reflect accordingly. Alright, now that the header section is completed, next we'll be working on the detail section over here. So go back to the source code. This one is the header section, and now we are going to work on the detail section. So for the detail section, we need a container view. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1, background color equals to app theme dot background color, and margin top should be equals to -45, and border top left radius equals to 40, and border top right radius equals to 40 as well. Save it, and within the detail container view, which is this part over here, we are going to first work on the top tab bar section. Okay, and within the top tab bar section, we have 3 tab buttons over here and also the order number over here. Alright, let's see how we can do this. Now within the detail container view, we are going to render a new function called render top tab bar section. And we are going to create this function over here. Now within this function, we are going to return a container view. Give it some styling. Flex direction equals to row. Height equals to 50. Margin top equals to sizes.radius. Justify content equals to center. Padding left equals to sizes.padding times 2. Padding right equals to sizes.padding. And now within this container view, we are going to render the tab buttons over here and also the order number over here. Okay, so for the tab buttons, we need another container view. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1, flex direction equals to row. And now we can then render the tab button. Alright, so for this, the container style equals to width 60, label equals to menu, and I'm just gonna copy and paste it for the other 2 tab buttons. Like that. Oops. Alright. I'm gonna change this to 90. This one as well. I'm gonna change the label to previous and favorite. Save it. Alright, same thing, we also need to use the useState hook to keep track of the selected tab. So scroll to the top, and over here, constant selected tab set selected tab equals to react.useState, and the initial value is going to be 0. And now go back to the tab button, and over here we can then include the selected prop, and it will be true if the selected tab equals to 0. And the unpressed prop, whenever I click on this menu tab button, I'm going to set selected tab equals to 0. Alright, I'm gonna just copy and paste it for these 2. Change the index to 1 and change this index to 2. Save it. And now you should be able to change the selected tab. Perfect. Alright, so after the tab buttons, next will be the order number. So come over here. We need to render a container view as well. Give it some styling. Width equals to 35, height equals to 35, border radius equals to 10, align item center, justify content center as well, and background color equals to primary. And within this container view, we will render the text component. And for this, we will hardcode it to 0. Give it some styling. Color equals to white, and fonts equals to H3. Save it. Perfect. Alright, so after the top tab bar section, next we'll be working on the sidebar and followed by the listing. Okay, so in the detail container, this one is actually nav bar. Oh, I should call this tab bar. And now we will be working on the sidebar and listing. So for this, we need a container view. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1 and flex direction equals to row. And of course, within this container view, we need to render the sidebar and also the listing underneath. And for the sidebar, we are going to render a new function called render sidebar. And we will create this function over here. And now for the sidebar, I'm going to return a container view first. Give it some styling. The margin top should be -10. Width should be 65. Background color equals to colors.primary. Align item equals to center. Justify content equals to center as well. Save it. Alright, now within this container view, we are going to render 5 vertical buttons. And to make it easier, we are going to create a standalone component for these vertical buttons. Okay? So head over to the components folder, create a new file called vertical text button. So over here, we need to import React from React. We need to import a couple of things from React Native. We need touchable opacity, and also we need text. After that, we need to import from constants. We need to import fonts, colors, and sizes. And over here, we will set up the functional components. So constant vertical text button. And for this component, we need the container style, label, selected, and onPress. Arrow function, return something. And over here, don't forget, we need to export default vertical text button. And since it's going to be a button, we are going to return touchable opacity like this. Give it some styling. Align items equals to center. And I would like to rotate this button by using the transform property. So transform rotate by -90 degree. And then we will include the container style as well. The onPress prop equals to onPress. And within the touchable opacity, we need to render the text component. And over here, it's going to be label. Give it some styling. For the color, if it's being selected, then we will return white. If it's not, then it's going to be light green. Fonts will be body 2. And I would like to override the font size to 20. And now we can then include it in the index.js file. So over here, I'm just going to copy, change this to vertical text button, and I'm going to export it over here. Now we can then head back to the order.js file. Make sure to import it in the components, from the components. Okay, so here we need the vertical text button. And now go back to the sidebar. And within this container view, we can then render the vertical text button like this. So the label for the first button is going to be snack. So snack. Let me try to save it and see what we have. Next we have coffee. So I'm just gonna copy and paste it like this. Coffee. Just that for this, the container style should be margin top 50. Save it. Alright, it's over here. So next we have smoothie. Same thing, I'm gonna just copy and paste it like this. Change this to smoothie. And this time the margin top should be 70 and width should be 100. Alright. Next we have specialty. Same thing, copy, paste it. Specialty. And for the margin top, it's going to be 90 and width equals to 100 as well. Okay, so we have specialty here, and lastly we have milk tea. Okay, so same thing, I'm gonna just copy and paste it like this and change this to milk tea. Margin top should be 80 and width should be 80 as well. Alright, now all the vertical text buttons are in place. Next, we will need to render the curvy shape like this. Okay, and in order to achieve this, we are going to use the SVG. So scroll to the top. Over here, we are going to import SVG, and we need circle as well from React Native SVG. Go back to the sidebar function. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a container view and wrap everything inside like this. Save it. Okay. And over here, I am going to render the SVG. Height equals to 65. Width equals to 65 as well. View box equals to 0, 0, 65 and 65. And now within this SVG, we are going to render the circle like that. So CX equals to 5, CY equals to 60, R equals to 60, and fill equals to colors.primary. Save it. Alright, we are almost there. Just that we need to copy this and paste it over here. And this time I'm going to change the CY to 0. Save it. Oh, it seems like the milk tea text button is being covered by the SVG. So to resolve this, within the container view, we are going to set the Z index to 1. Perfect. Alright, so all we need to do now is to make sure we can keep track of the selected category. And in order to do that, we need the useState hook. So scroll to the top. Over here, constant selected category, set selected category equals to react.useState, and the initial category is going to be milk tea. Alright, save it. Now go back to the vertical text button component. Over here, we are going to include the selected prop, and this will return true if the selected category equals to snack. And whenever I click on this button, I would set selected category to snack. Now I'm gonna just copy and paste it like this. Alright, and of course we need to change it accordingly. So this one is going to be coffee, this one will be smoothie, next we have specialty, and lastly is the milk tea. Alright, save it. Now we should be able to change the category. Perfect. Alright, now that the sidebar is completed, next we'll be working on the menu list. But before we can, work on the flat list, we need to be able to first filter the menu list based on the selected category. And to do that, scroll to the top. Over here, we will be creating the menu state to keep track of the menu list. So constant menu set menu equals to react.useState, and the initial value is going to be null. Alright, now we are going to have another use effect hook like this. Arrow function. Oh, and for this I'll need to include an empty array like this. But for this, we are going to listen to the selected category, which means whenever the selected category is being updated or changed, this use effect function will be triggered. Okay, so now I'm going to filter the menu list like this, equals to dummy data dot menu list dot filter menu item arrow function menu item dot category equals to selected category, which basically means that I will retrieve a list of menu where the category is equals to the selected category. And once I got that, I will then set the menu like that. Alright, now that the menu has been populated, we can then head over to the listing section and we can render the flat list. So the content container style equals to margin top sizes.padding padding bottom equals to 50, and the data is going to be menu, which is the one we have just populated. The key extractor over here is going to be item.id, and for the render item, okay, over here item index arrow function, and we are going to return something. And since each of these menu item is actually a button that can navigate to the order detailed screen, we are going to use touchable without feedback, like that. And whenever we click on it like this and press, it should navigate to the order detailed screen. And at the same time, I am going to pass over the selected item as well. Alright. Now within the touchable without feedback component, we are going to have a container view. Give it some styling. Height equals to 150. Padding horizontal equals to sizes.padding. And for the margin top, if the index is more than 0, then it will be sizes.padding, and if it's not, it's going to be 0. Align item equals to flex n, and justify content equals to flex n as well. Save it. I'm gonna navigate to the order screen. Alright, now within this container view, we are going to render the thumbnail and also the details. Right, so here we have the thumbnail and also details. Alright, so for the thumbnail, we are going to render the container view, give it some styling. Position should be absolute. Top equals to 0. Left equals to sizes.padding. Width equals to 130. Height equals to 140. Align item center. Justify content center as well. Border radius equals to sizes.radius. Background color equals to colors.light yellow. And we would like to set the Z index to 1. Save it. Alright, now within the container, we can then render the image. So the source is going to be item.thumbnail. Resize mode equals to contain, and style equals to width 100, height 100 as well. Now save it. Alright, so these are for milk tea category. I can change it to specialty, I can change it to smoothie, I can change it to coffee and also snacks. Alright, cool. And lastly, we are going to render the details section. Alright, so over here, we are going to create a container view as well. Give it some styling. Width equals to 70%. Height equals to 85%. Padding left equals to 22%. Padding right equals to sizes.base. Padding vertical equals to sizes.base as well. Border radius equals to sizes.radius. Justify content equals to space between. And background color equals to colors.primary. Save it. Alright, we are almost there. All we need to do now is to render the text component. So over here, we are going to render the item name. Give it some styling. Color equals to colors.white. And the fonts equals to H2. And I would like to override the font size to 18 and also the line height to 25. Let me arrange it properly. Alright, save it. Okay, and lastly, we need to render another text component for the price. So over here, item.price. Give it some styling as well. Color equals to light yellow. Fonts equals to H2. And font size equals to 18. Save it. Alright, perfect. Now we can change it as well. It should reflect properly. Coffee, milk tea. Alright, perfect. So we have completed the order screen. The last screen that we'll be working on for this project is the order detailed screen. So for the order detailed screen, we have back button over here, followed by thumbnail, item name and description, After that, we can choose the size of the cup, we can choose the milk, and also we can customize the sweetness and ice level. Alright, so back to the source code, head over to the order detail screen, and now we are going to import a couple more components from React Native. So we need view, text, image, touchable opacity, and also image background. After this, we need to import from constants. We need dummy data, we need colors, we need fonts, sizes, icons. Okay. After that, we need to import from components. So for this, we need the icon button. Oh, and I think I need the scroll view as well. I'm gonna include it like that. And lastly, we need to import from React Redux. We need the connect. Same thing, I'm going to head over to the hom.js, copy this part, and paste it in the order detail screen. Of course, we need to replace the hom with order detail. And now we can remove this. Alright, now for the order detail component, we need a few more props over here. So we need the navigation, we need route, and also we need the app theme from Redux. Alright, what I would like to do next is that I would like to remove the text component. I'll remove the style sheet as well. I'm gonna remove this as well. Alright, I'm gonna navigate back to the order detail screen. Okay, now for the container view, I'm going to give it some styling. Flex equals to 1, background color equals to app theme dot background color. Alright, next we are going to wrap this whole thing within a scroll view. So over here, we are going to render a scroll view. The container style equals to padding bottom will be 150. Oh, and before we work on the scroll view, we need to first retrieve the route.params value, which is the selected item from the order screen, and keep track it in the order detail screen. So to do that, we will make use of the useState hook. So constant selected item set selected item equals to react.useState, and the initial value is going to be null. And after that, we can use the useEffect hook. So react useEffect like that. Here it's going to be empty array, and we will get the selected item from route.params. And once we got that, we are going to set selected item like this. Now back to the scroll view, we are mainly going to divide the screen into two different parts. The first part we have here is the header section, and followed by the detail section over here. Okay, so within the scroll view, we have the header section and also the detail section. So for the header section, we are going to render a new function called render header section, and we are going to create this function over here. So function render header section like that. And for this, we are going to return a container view, give it some styling, width equals to 100%, height equals to 55%, align item equals to center, justify content equals to center as well. And now within this container view, we are going to first render the green background over here. Okay, so we need a view like that, give it some styling. Position should be absolute. Top will be 0, bottom will be 0, right will be 0, left will be 40. Border bottom left radius equals to 100. This is to create the border radius over here. And the background color equals to colors.primary. The reason why it's not showing, I think it's because we need to include flex1 over here. Okay, after the background, we can then render the image. Source will be selected item dot thumbnail. Resize mode equals to contain, and style equals to width sizes dot width multiplied by 0.7, and height, same thing, sizes dot width multiplied by 0.7 as well. Save it. Alright, all we need to do now is to render this back button over here. Okay, so back button, we are going to use the icon button component. So icon button container style equals to position should be absolute, top should be 45, left will be 20, padding will be 10, border radius equals to sizes.radius, background color equals to colors.black, and the icon will be icons.left arrow. And whenever I click on this icon button, I am going to navigate back to the previous screen. So navigation.go back. Save it. Alright, now if I click on this button, I should be able to go back. Perfect. Alright, that's all for the header section. Next, we'll be working on the details section over here. So to do that, we are going to render a new function over here. So we will render details section, and we will create this function over here. So function render details section, and we are going to return a container view, give it some styling, flex equals to 1, padding horizontal equals to 30, margin top equals to sizes.padding, and justify content equals to space between. Within the container view, we are going to render the name and description over here. We are going to render the size, and lastly followed by the milk and sweetness section. Alright, so over here we have the name and description section. After that we have the size section, and lastly we have the milk, sweetness and ice section. Alright, so for the name and description is pretty straightforward. All we need is two text components. So over here we will have the container view, and within this container view we are going to render the text. So here we are going to render selected item dot name, give it some styling, color equals to app theme dot header color, and the fonts equals to h1. Just that I would like to overwrite the font size to 25. Save it. Alright, now we need another text component over here, and we are going to render selected item dot description, give it some styling as well. So margin top equals to sizes dot base, color equals to app theme dot text color, and fonts equals to body tree. Save it. Perfect. And next we'll be working on the size section. Okay, so over here we need another container view like that, give it some styling. So flex direction equals to row, align items equals to center, and margin top equals to sizes.radius. And within this container view we are going to render the label and followed by the cups. Okay, so we have label and cup. Alright, so for the label we are going to render the text component. So over here it will be pick a size, give it some styling, flex equals to 1, color equals to app theme dot header color, and fonts equals to h2. Just that I would like to customize the font size to 20. Save it. Alright, so we have it here. And next for the cup section, we also need a container view like this, give it some styling, flex equals to 1, and flex direction equals to row. Now within this container view we are going to render two buttons. Okay, and within each of these buttons we have an image, we have text component in the middle, and also we have the price at the bottom. Alright, so we need the touchable opacity, give it some styling, align items equals to center, justify content equals to flex n. We will work on the unpressed later on, alright, don't worry. And within the touchable opacity, we are going to render the image background like that. Source will be icons.coffeecup, style equals to width at D, height at D, align item center, justify content center as well. And next we need the image style. This is so that we can customize the tint color. And for now, I'm just gonna put primary. Alright, save it. Okay, I need a closing tag for the image background like this. And now within the image background, we are going to render the text component that renders 20 ounce like that. Give it some styling. Color equals to white, and the fonts equals to body tree. Save it. Alright, we are almost there. Now underneath the image background, we need to render the price. So I'm gonna just hard code it to 450. Give it some styling. Margin top equals to 3. Color equals to white. And the font equals to body tree. Save it. Perfect. Alright, what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to copy this whole thing over here and paste it underneath like that. Save it. And now for the image background component, instead of 80, we are going to change it to 100. And this one is going to be 32 ounce, and the price will be $5 like that. Alright, now that the UI is ready, next we need to make sure that we can actually pick a size. Okay, so to do that, we need to use the useState hook. So over here, constant selected size, set selected size equals to react.useState, and the initial size is going to be 32. So go back to the cup section over here, and whenever I click on this button, this one over here, I am going to set selected size equals to 20, because this one is 20 ounce, and we are going to customize a bit on the tint color. If the selected size equals to 20, we are going to render the primary color. If it's not, it's going to be colors.gray2. Next, for this one over here, whenever I click on this, the unpressed should be set selected size equals to 32. And same thing, we need to customize the tint color a little bit. So if the selected size equals to 32, we are going to render the primary color. If it's not, it's going to be colors.gray2. Save it. And now we should be able to pick a size. Perfect. Alright, so after this, we are going to work on the milk sweetness and ice level section. Okay, so over here, we are going to render a container view. Give it some styling. Flex direction equals to row. Margin top equals to sizes.padding. And now within this container view, we are going to render the milk section first. So we have the milk section. We need a container view like that. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1. Align item equals to center. Now within this container view, we are going to render the text component first. So over here, text, we should render milk and give it some styling. Color equals to app theme dot header color. Fonts equals to h2, and I would like to override the font size to 20. Save it. Alright, now after the text component, we are going to render another view which has two icon buttons on the side and also the image in the middle. Okay, now underneath the text component, we are going to render the container view. Give it some styling. flex direction equals to row, width equals to 100, height equals to 100 as well, margin top equals to sizes.base, align items equals to center, border radius equals to sizes.radius, background color equals to colors.primary. Alright, now I am going to render the icon button like that. The icon equals to icons.left arrow, container style equals to margin left will be -15, width equals to 25, height equals to 25 as well, border radius equals to 3, and background color equals to white. The icon style equals to width will be 15, height will be 15 as well, and tint color equals to black. Save it. Alright, and we are going to work on the unpress later on. Okay, next we'll need to render the the milk icon. Okay, so over here we will render the image component. The source will be dummy data.milk list. Now this is actually an array, and for now I'm gonna just hard code it to 0 and .image. Resize mode equals to contain, style equals to flex equals to 1, width equals to 70, height equals to 70 as well, and tint color equals to white. Save it. Alright, so we have the milk image in place. Next will be another icon button like that. So the icon will be icons.right arrow this time. Container style equals to margin right will be -15, width will be 25, height will be 25 as well, border radius equals to 3, and background color equals to colors.white. And the icon style equals to width will be 15, height will be 15 as well, and tint color equals to black. Same thing, we are going to work on the unpress later. Oops, sorry, a bit of typo over here. Should be margin right. Perfect. And next we need to render the type of the milk underneath the image, right? So over here we need a text component like that, and we will render dummy data.milk list. Again, same thing, I'm going to hard code it to 0 for now, .name. Give it some styling. Margin top equals to sizes.base, and the color will be colors.white, and font will be body tree. Sweet. Now what I am going to do next is that I would like to replace this hard-coded index with a state. Alright, so over here, constant selected milk index, set selected milk index will be equals to react.useState, and the initial value is 0. And now underneath the use effect hook, I am going to create a function called milk button handler. It will take a parameter called action. Okay, and this function will be called whenever the icon button is being pressed. So now if the action equals to next and the selected milk index is less than dummy data dot milk list dot length -1, then we are going to set selected milk index equals to selected milk index +1. Else if the action equals to previous and selected milk index is more than 0, then we are going to set the selected milk index to selected milk index -1, like that. And now we can then head back to the milk section. Alright, over here, milk section. And for the icon button, whenever I click on it, since this one is the left arrow, which means previous. The on press should be milk button handler previous, right? And I'm going to copy and paste it over here, just that this time the parameter should be next. And of course, we need to replace the hard-coded index to selected milk index. Same goes for the text component as well. Save it. And now we should be able to change the milk. Perfect. Alright, now after the milk section, next we'll be working on the sweetness and ice section. Alright, just want to make sure it's correct. And now for the sweetness and ice section, we are going to render a container view as well. Give it some styling. The flex should be equals to 1. And within the container view, we are going to render sweetness and ice. So for sweetness, we are going to render a container view as well. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1. Justify content equals to center. And padding horizontal equals to sizes dot padding. And now within this view, the first thing we need to render is the text component. So text, and here it will be sweetness. Give it some styling. Text align should be center. Color equals to app theme dot header color. And the fonts will be fonts.h2, just that I would like to override the font size to 20. Save it. Alright, so the text component is in place. Next, we'll need to render this part over here, which basically consists of 2 icon buttons on the side and also a text component in the middle. Alright, so underneath the text component, we need a container view. Give it some styling. Flex direction equals to row. Align items equals to center. Justify content equals to center as well. Height will be 60%. And border radius equals to 15. Background color equals to colors.primary. And within this view, we are going to render the icon button. Icon will be icons.left arrow. Container style equals to margin left will be -8, width will be 25, height will be 25 as well. Border radius equals to 3, background color equals to colors.white. And the icon style equals to width will be 15, height will be 15 as well, and tint color will be colors.black. And we will work on the unpress later on. Alright, save it. So after the icon button, next we are going to render a container view like this. Give it some styling. Flex equals to 1. Align items equals to center. And justify content equals to center as well. And within this view, we are going to render a text component. And for now, I'm just gonna hard code it to 50%. Give it some styling. Color equals to white, and fonts equals to H3. Save it. Alright, and lastly, we need one more icon button over here. Icon equals to icons.right arrow. Container style equals to margin right will be -8. Width equals to 25. Height equals to 25 as well. Border radius equals to 3. Background color equals to colors.white. And the icon style equals to width will be 15, height will be 15 as well, and tint color will be colors.black. And same thing, we are going to work on the unpress shortly. Save it. Alright, next we are going to create a state to keep track of the sweetness level. Okay, so scroll to the top, and over here, constant selected sweetness level. set selected sweetness level, and the initial value is going to be 50. And now underneath the milk button handler, I'm going to create another function called sweetness level button handler. Same thing, it's going to tag in the action as parameter as well. And if the action equals to plus and the selected sweetness level is less than 100, then I am going to set the selected sweetness level like that to selected sweetness level plus 25. Else if the action equals to minus and the selected sweetness level is more than 0, then I'm going to set the selected sweetness level to selected sweetness level minus 25, like that. Now go back to the sweetness section over here, and for the unpress, whenever I click on the left button, we are going to call the sweetness level button handler, and we will pass in the minus sign like that. I'm gonna copy this and paste it over here, just that this time it's going to be plus. And of course we need to change this to selected sweetness level. Save it, and now we should be able to customize it. Perfect. Alright, we are almost there. The last section that we'll be working on is the ice section. And since it's more or less the same as the sweetness section, I'm gonna just copy this whole thing. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna just copy this whole thing like this and paste it over here. Now try to save it. Okay, and we need to change the sweetness to ice like that. And of course we need to change the state as well. Instead of selected sweetness level, we are going to change it to selected ice level, and we will create the state over here. So constant selected ice level, set selected ice level equals to react.useState, and the initial value equals to 50 as well. And for the button handler, I am going to copy this function over here and change it to ice level button handler. And if the action equals to plus, then the selected ice level, if the action equals to plus and the selected ice level is less than 100, then the set selected ice level should be selected ice level plus 25. Else if the action equals to minus, then the selected ice level, and the selected ice level is more than 0, then the set selected ice level will be selected ice level minus 25. Alright, save it, and all we need to do is to head over to the ice section over here and replace it with this function, ice level button handler. Same thing goes to this one over here. Now save it, and we should be able to customize the ice level, we should be able to customize the sweetness level, the type of milk, and also the size of the cup. And I think this is it. Let me just play around with it a little bit. Alright guys, we have finally completed this very cute looking Boba Milk Tea app based on the design created by Ainsley on mockittapp.wondershare.com. Now if you would like to support our work, or if you are in a hurry, the full source code for this project is available for just a few dollars on shop.byprogrammers.com, and I have included the link in the description below. If not, that's totally fine, as you can still achieve the same result by getting the starter template for this project and follow along the video. So if you like the video, we'll be more than happy if you can give it a thumbs up, comment, share it to your friends, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. I will see you guys in the next video. Happy coding. Peace.